Today we're going to be taking the Unit 3 test. So let's start out. Number 1, what is isolationism? Is it a policy of withdrawing from international policy? Or B, a policy of becoming involved in public affairs? What I'd like you to remember with isolationism is this is something that the U.S. was doing for the majority of its history in the early years, before we went into imperialism, and then right after imperialism at the beginning of World War I, and then following World War I. This was, and what I mean by policy is this was kind of what we were trying to do. Like this was what the government thought that the United States should do as far as how we interacted with the world. So was it a policy of withdrawing from international policy? That means like just kind of taking care of us. Or was it a policy of becoming very involved in public affairs? Did that mean that our policy was to get out there? So what is isolationism? 2, the unemployment rate during the Great Depression hit. Remember, unemployment means the number of people who don't have jobs. So the unemployment rate during the Great Depression, what was it at? How many people were out of work? Was it 10%? That would be 1 in every 10 people. Or 10 people out of every 100. Or was it 25%? That would be 1 out of every 4 people. Number 3, farmers saw their crop prices fall because. So when we're talking about farmers during the Great Depression, they saw the prices of their goods, of their farm products, so their eggs, their wheat, corn, they went down. The prices started to drop or go down. Why? Was it because their crops were bad? Was it because they were producing or making too much? Or they didn't. Prices stayed the same during the Great Depression. So why did farmers see their crop prices go down during the Great Depression? Why? 4, what were Hoovervilles? Remember, we saw pictures of these. We talked about it. They're going to be places that families go. So what were these things? We saw them throughout the United States, mostly in big cities. We saw a picture of one outside of Washington, D.C. So what were Hoovervilles? Were they shanty towns? Those mean towns where basically people take whatever supplies they can find and build a house. Whatever they can have, these are just kind of thrown together because people don't have anywhere to live. Were they cities for the wealthy? Were these like the new things that were made during the Great Depression for the people who had money? Or were they houses owned by President Hoover? Is that why they were called Hoovervilles? What were Hoovervilles? Which of the following is an example of jobs created by the New Deal? Remember, the New Deal is going to be that program that FDR comes up with to help people out, to help the country get out of the Great Depression, to help people find money, to help people have jobs. It was all those different programs. So which of these was one of the types of jobs that were made because of that New Deal program? The Federal Writers Project or postal workers? Which one of these was right from the New Deal? Number 6, what was the day the stock market crashed in 1929 called? So remember, that's the start of the Great Depression. That's what historians call it. What day was that? What did they call that day? Was it called Black Friday? Or is it called Black Tuesday? What was the name of the day? What did they call the day that the stock market crashed in 1929? Black Friday? Black Tuesday? Number 7, during the early years of the Great Depression, the federal government gave direct help to people. True or false? What this means is, did the federal government itself like create jobs? Did they create programs? Did they help give to charities? Did the federal government do that itself? Or was it kind of hands off and let things go as they were going? So this is going to be in the early years of the Great Depression. We are talking about once FDR comes into office. So when Franklin Delano Roosevelt comes into office during that time in the Great Depression. Number 8, who claimed control of the Soviet Union after the death of Lenin in 1924? Who claimed control of the Soviet Union? Remember that was called Russia before, also called the USSR. Who claimed control of that after Lenin died in 1924? Is it Joseph Stalin or D. Leonard Kolkhoz? Number 9, what was the date of the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor? What was the date of the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor? Remember, this is going to be what leads the United States into World War II. And we watched a video where FDR gave his really famous speech to Congress asking them to declare war. So was that on November 6th of 1942 or on December 7th of 1941? You'll remember there's a really famous quote where FDR says, "This day is a day that will forever live in infamy." Number 10, this battle was the major turning point in the war in the Pacific. So we're talking about World War II, the war in the Pacific. This is as the United States is taking back land and territory from Japan. It brought about an end to the Japanese offensive in the war in the Pacific. So what this means is that after this battle, the United States is making all offensive moves. Japan from this point on is just defensive. Was this the Battle of Midway or the Battle of Myanmar? 11. The Allied invasion of blank was given the name D-Day. Allied means the United States, Great Britain, Canada, France. Okay, what was the invasion? That means who were they trying to take back? What were they trying to take back for D-Day? Was it North Africa or Nazi-occupied Europe? D-Day, what was that an invasion of? 12. The Battle of the Bulge is significant. That means important because it marked. So why is the Battle of the Bulge really important? Was it the last German offensive? That means was that the last time that they were the ones that were out trying to come up with these new moves and gain more territory? Or was it the liberation of the death camps from the Holocaust? 13. The struggle for this Pacific island at the doorstep of Japan became the final battle of World War II. So we're talking about the war in the Pacific. That's where the United States and its allies are slowly taking back territory and land from Japan. What was the last battle? And that also becomes the very last battle of World War II. Was this the Battle at Okinawa or the Battle of Guam? August 6th, 1945, US B-29 bomber drops the first atomic bomb on blank, Japan. So this is going to be where the very first atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. Is it Tokyo, Osaka, or Hiroshima? Number 15. How did FDR let Americans know what was happening in a way that made them feel connected to him? So we talked about about FDR and how he wanted to make people feel comfortable with him, like they knew him, and people would sit down, and this made them feel more secure, and it also allowed him to tell Americans what was happening in a way that they felt like they almost had like a friend in FDR. Did he use fireside chats? Those were on the radio. or did he use movies? Number 16. Why were movies such a huge hit in the Great Depression? Remember, I showed you some really famous movie stars. We talked about how this becomes almost like a golden age of movie and film, like Clark Gable, Gone with the Wind. So, why were movies such a huge hit in the Great Depression? Because they were free to go and see, so lots of people would go, or it was a way for people to escape their reality. Were their lives just so bad because it was the Great Depression that movies allowed them a way to kind of get out of that for a little while? Which one is it? 17. The federal government paid people to write, draw, and act using or through New Deal programs. So we talked about all these New Deal programs, these programs that FDR came up with, to help people make money and find jobs. So were some of these jobs that you could get from the government, did they allow you to write? Maybe it was oral histories. Did they allow you to draw or use your artistic talents? And did they pay actors to travel the country? True or false? And that's the end of the Unit 3 test.